Hey cousins, I'm Shemaya. It's like papaya, except it's not, and this is Plot Twist Please. Let's get into it. Picture this. It's 1909 in the American South. You look up, farmland. You go 20 meters to your right, more farmland. Everywhere you go, farmland. Not many people, just the people who are in your close unit, but nothing outside of that, really. You've been told your entire life that you wouldn't amount to anything. You've been told that you're ugly, that you have no value. And then one day, somebody sees you and really sees you. And for the first time in your life, for the first time in your whole life, you're told that you mean something. The chemicals in your brain don't know what to do. And also, Oprah's there? Before you get ahead of yourself, no, this is not some random fever dream I had where Oprah popped into the middle of the dream. I'm describing the color purple. And I'm specifically describing the experience of Celie, the main character, a dark-skinned black woman who figures out throughout the movie, the original movie. I'm specifically talking about her journey to self-actualization and ultimately to herself, and to realizing that she actually has value outside of what people say or do to her. And yes, Celie's story is filled with a ton of trauma, like kinds of trauma that I'm not going to talk about in this episode because that's not what this episode is about. But the kind of trauma where you'd go, oh, it makes sense that you're taking time to figure yourself out. It makes sense that when someone tells you that you're pretty, you feel like you are indebted to that person. You feel like you owe them something, like you have to return the favor even when they're not treating you the best. Because that's what happened. If you look back at the story in The Color Purple, the character of Shug is Celie's awakening in so many ways, but Shug doesn't necessarily treat Celie the best. She ends up dipping on Celie and then coming back and expecting her to just welcome her with open arms, like nothing had happened. And who's to say that didn't awaken some abandonment issues in Celie? Now, this is not meant to be an indictment on the character Shug. That's not what this episode is about either. And at this point, you're probably like, okay, Shamara, then what is this episode about? Because what's going on? But hold your horses. I see you eager on your living room couch. Chill out. Sit back. Grab a blanket. We're going to be here for maybe 10, 15 minutes. Don't worry. I'll make this minisode worth your while. I always do. So my question is, if we are able to have that much grace for a character that's made up for Celie, why is it so hard for us to retarget that kind of empathy toward ourselves? Now, if you don't know, I'm an autistic black woman, and I talk about autistic black women teens on here. But I mostly just talk about wellness and how we can pursue healthy relationships to ourselves and others. And today I want to specifically talk about those of us who have abandonment issues, and particularly those who are of the avoidant attachment style when it comes to relationships. Now, if you don't know, just a little bit of Psychology 101, there are different attachment styles that people can have. Some people are avoidant, which means basically you say in your head and in your body, stay away from me because if you get too close, you're going to see who I really am. There's the anxious attachment where you're like, I need to cling close to you because otherwise you're going to leave. And then there is the disorganized attachment style, which is the actually makes me want to where you deeply desire connection and you deeply fear abandonment, but at the same time you refuse to let anyone know that. You refuse to show any signs of that, and that results in you distancing yourself from people. Probably because you think that they are going to eventually distance themselves from you. So you might as well, beat them to the punch. So that's kind of what that is. So I am here to talk to the disorganized or avoidant folks who feel like people getting close to them is a threat. I think something that we don't talk about in regards to Celie's story is the fact that she has every reason to not desire connection. She has every reason to completely shut Shug out. And even though they don't end up in each other's lives, I don't think to the same degree over the course of the movie, and maybe I'm just referencing the musical now, but musical theater person, it's gonna seep its way into this analysis, sorry. But I think we don't talk about the fact that Celie has every right to not want connection. She has every right to be afraid of people and to not desire relationships at all because of what she's endured. But for whatever reason, she allows herself to stumble through it. and she has grace for herself. And maybe she doesn't always have grace for herself. Maybe it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Maybe it doesn't happen immediately. But she's able to dust herself off after something doesn't go the way she wants it to, or she would have wanted to at the beginning. And she's able to say, I actually am somebody without external validation. And I think that is the miracle in that story, is the fact that not in the sense of her being able to pull herself by her bootstraps, but she is though a fictional character, she is a lesson for a lot of us avoidants, that connection, even if it's not supposed to last forever, can be quite miraculous, like can bring us to a place where we need to be, can help us grow. Like I firmly believe now more than ever that people are in our lives to grow us and to challenge us and to teach us. Like, people are here to be our teachers. And I think approaching it in that way has allowed me to detach like a result mindset from my relationships, like whether it's romantic or platonic situation. I think I, as an autistic person who has, experienced a lot of relationship trauma and friendship trauma and, bullying and all that, I think it helps that I'm able to go, if this person ends up being terrible for me, now I know, and now I know what to look out for in the future. And also, I think for a lot of autistic people, it's hard for us to see things in the gray. Like, it's hard for us to not do the black and white thinking thing where we're like, either this person in my life was a tyrant or they were the best thing that ever happened to me and nothing in between. But it doesn't work like that. Like, sometimes people are just people and are clumsy. And sometimes people show you their best selves at times, and other times they show you their worst selves. Like, I have a few friends, a few close friends who have seen the worst parts of me and still choose to love me. And let me tell you, that has altered my brain chemistry. Yeah, because I get it. Like, I think there's something to be said. I watched a doctor talk about online talk about how what an archaic way for me to say I watched a doctor speak on the internet. Like, I was watching a TikTok, okay? Not me talking like I'm 85, but I watched a TikTok with a doctor, specifically an autism focused doctor, a neurodivergence educated doctor, who talked about how a lot of autistic women actually are avoidant and tend to be high achieving, highly intelligent, avoidant people. And that makes sense to me for a lot of reasons. One of those reasons being, when you are a woman, you are socialized. It's almost like there's this hyper pressure to be social. And as an autistic person, that pressure just makes me so anxious, and has always made me anxious, and has always made me feel like I was going to do it wrong, because there are so many ways as a woman to socialize wrong. Y'all know that if you say if you use one improper inflection, your social life is over. Like, y'all know what that's like. Maybe not so much as an adult, but as a child, there's so many ways you could socialize incorrectly as a woman. There's so many ways that you could ostracize yourself, or that somebody could find a reason to ostracize you, or to deem you as snooty or not a good person, or naggy or know-it-all or posh. Like, there's just so many different ways people can categorize you as a woman that can, for a lot of autistic women, I realize, can make us over time retreat into ourselves, as if to say, you know what, I'm just not even going to try because I know I'm going to fail. Because I know how harsh the world is toward women, especially women who try to build relationships, and I've just decided to opt out. And sometimes that happens immediately, and sometimes that happens after years and years of trying and of putting yourself out there and of getting hurt. So, like, I understand logistically why it makes sense for someone to decide that they just don't want to deal with it all and they just don't want to try. It makes perfect sense. But I also feel like the people who retreat the most are also the people who long the most for connection. And if you're someone who likes to be alone and you genuinely love that life, I love that life for you. Like, go off, like, go off, Rapunzel, in your little tower. I hope you're taken care of, and I hope someone's there to help you out when you're sick. But go off. Like, who am I to judge that life? But I also think Shamaya the person would not be Shamaya the person she is now without my relationships, without the friends who saw me and like weren't afraid of the mystery that is my brain and really waited it out to figure me out and to give me time to put my guard down. And people will give you time if you let them. I'm learning that a lot of the time we shut ourselves out because we think someone is going to do that to us. And then we build this level of this kind of resentment toward the world because we feel like we've been shut out of a secret party. Whereas in hindsight, there were a lot of parties that I didn't even show up at. Maybe I was invited, or maybe maybe wires got crossed in terms of communication and I got the invitation, but I didn't find it. I didn't see it in the inbox. I didn't register that it was for me, right? So as I wrap up this little nugget of an episode, I do want us to be very conscious as autistic women, as autistic people, as people who are avoidant. If any of that applies to you, I want you to evaluate your life. I want you to look at your life and look at your relationships, and I want you to notice where there's longing. Because if there's longing somewhere, maybe you need to communicate that with a friend, like, I miss you, and it's okay to miss people. And actually, I find, I don't know if other autistic people experience this, but I find it very rare for me to miss people. Like, I don't, and that's another story. Something in my brain goes, I'm going to see that person again, so there's no reason to miss them. So it's almost like logically, I like hold their love in my head because I know that I'm going to see them again. And it's not this like, oh, I have to find them. I have to see them again right now because otherwise the love is going to go away. It's like, no, like I know the love is there. Maybe that's for better or for worse, but we're working on balance because we love balance. We love a balancing act. But yeah, I want to leave you with some encouragement to lean into the longing and to not be afraid of it, because oftentimes it's trying to communicate something with you. And maybe it's communicating that something needs to change. All right, that's all I have for you today. Stay tuned. I am releasing weekly episodes, minisodes in between full-length episodes. So come on in so we can chat it up, get comfy on your couch for those longer episodes. And I don't know, maybe you're making your coffee while you're listening to these shorter episodes. I actually do want to know in the comments of this minisode what you're doing when you listen to the minisodes. Like, are you getting ready for your day? Are you about to wind down after a long day? Like, let me know. I want to get inside your skull. I want to get inside your brain. On that note, it's time to go. All right, be blessed. Stay weird. Bye-bye.